The following may contain language that is not suitable for all audiences. It's time for the Low Fact Podcast. All right, here we are once again.
Yabba dabba doo.
So, nothing really new came out. Well, I'm not really recapping all the news that happened during the week. I'm just kind of recapping the news that I thought was kind of interesting.
Okay. And I guess we don't need to do 2 weeks worth of recap, but one of us didn't edit the podcast and get it up this week, So anyway, there was really nothing much new. The big thing was some new executive orders from our illustrious president. Talk about how he's not going to. Did he say impinge? I can't remember if he said his executive orders don't impinge, or I think he meant infringe on the Second Amendment. And there's some relative debate on that. But the more funnier thing that I thought he said was that, no amendment is like sacrosanct. I saw that little snippet. That was the one thing I saw on the news all week.
And that struck me because I was like, really? No amendment is sacrosanct? So 13th Amendment, not sacrosanct? What else?
That's slavery, against slavery, right?
Yes, badges of slavery. And to anyone that sits there and says, oh, it's a private company, blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that. Well, not only do we have the common carriers being regulated by the Constitution, but the 13th Amendment just says, no badges of slavery.
Yeah, so that covers,
I would think that covers private individuals.
Yes. Well, that would be wouldn't that be a preposterous situation? Like, you could have slavery within a company, but not...
Yeah. Well, it's a private company. Well, there are some private companies that condone slavery in other countries, but I'm not going to go there. Let's see what else would be an amendment that people would think should be sacrosanct. Whatever the amendment is that gave women the right to vote.
How about the one against unreasonable search and seizure? Is that an amendment?
Yes, Fourth Amendment.
So there you go. I'm pretty sure people don't want to be unreasonably searched and seized.
Fifth Amendment.
Fifth.
Well, the biggie of the Fifth Amendment is the right not to incriminate oneself.
Oh yeah.
So there's that, and then the rest are just kind of more unfoldings of other stuff, like that Major League Baseball decided to take the All-Star game out of Georgia because Georgia passed a law that the Democrats.
Wait, I saw a commentator talking about this and saying, actually, Georgia has a really good record on all that stuff. Like, more black voters every year, just in general. Totally unfounded.
Well, a lot of the counter folks, people counter to the Democratic Party president narrative of how it's going back to Jim Crow and all that stuff, have been saying that.
Doesn't moving the game hurt a lot of people anyway?
Well, that was the thing. That moving the game would hurt a lot of people that it's supposed to help. I think I read somewhere where they were saying, oh, so you're taking the game out of a city that has 51% black population and moving it to another city who has less than 10%.
Where did they move it to?
Denver.
Has this game already been played?
No, it's going to be, but there's a whole lot of people saying boycott this, boycott that, do that. There are all kinds of rumblings about how to send a message to Major League Baseball, but the one that I thought was the best was to not give them any more bonds or tax breaks.
Well, I think their tune would change quite quickly then.
Well, they'd keep moving until somebody would take it. So there was that thing.
It's just kind of funny how these companies are all... I mean, I guess they're looking at their bottom line, right? And saying, well, what position can we take that is going to be the most popular?
Well, that was one person, one thing that I listened to that wasn't like, what they call corporate media, was that there was a thought that maybe baseball was just trying to get a better deal from some other place, and that's why they moved it, and they just need a pretext.
That actually makes sense.
The transgender bills that some states have been signing or wanting to, that's kind of back vaccine passport stuff. That's more stuff that's kind of been in the news. Some states are saying no, can't do it. Some states are acting like they can.
I wonder what they're going to do here in California.
Well, supposedly, from one thing that I read, California is kind of in the camp of saying no vaccine passports. They're leaning towards that way.
Oh, really?
But also California is supposed to open up by June 15th, and I think some of that stuff is just Governor Gavin trying to keep himself from being recalled.
Wasn't he on the front? He was on the front page of LA Weekly blowing a bubble.
Maybe. Well, I shouldn't.
I don't know. I mean, I think it was a mock-up of him blowing a bubble.
What else was going on? Hunter Biden scandals keep on going.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that even in the news?
Well, there was an interview where he said, "Oh yeah, it could." He was saying, "Oh, it's not mine," and the interviewer was like, "Well, it could be yours." Like, "Oh yeah, it could be, but it could be Russian intelligence. It could be this, could be that." And I just kind of found it funny.
Just the laptop?
Yeah, I just kind of find it funny that if you're on the side that supports, then any kind of wild theory, any kind of theory is plausible. Especially ones that the other side would say wild, and when the shoe's on the other foot, then no. It's just like the whole filibuster thing.
Yeah.
What else? Oh, yeah, Ron DeSantis has been going after 60 Minutes for painting him in a negative light and doing stuff that they say is untrue.
Who the hell's Ron DeSantis?
He is the governor of Florida.
Oh, wait. Someone was telling him to step... Is this the sex scandal?
No, that was a congressman.
Oh.
The Ron DeSantis thing, there was like a 60 Minutes piece. And I do remember a couple of months ago where the theory was put out. It's like, oh yeah, Publix, where all these old white people go. So, that's why the vaccines were done at Publix, so that it was like a bribe to the old people in Florida so that they vote for him again. But there's been people coming out saying like, no, that's not why I did it. Publix just is a big supermarket chain in Florida, and a lot of people go there. And apparently DeSantis even had like vaccine stuff going on in churches, in black churches, to help like the black community and whatnot. And there were some Democrats that came out and said, no, that wasn't what it was. It was us, like the mayor of some county. I don't know how you got mayor in a county, but was saying his people were the ones that suggested. So and 60 Minutes didn't come to them, even though he said he would.
How are you getting all this news?
I kind of hunt for it. You get some on the regular stuff, what people would call mainstream or corporate or whatever, and then I hunt around because everybody talks about it, right? So whenever one side comes out with a story, the other side sits there and decides to fact check.
See, these stories, like a lot of them, I've only turned on the TV and looked at news like twice this week, but like at least half those stories were all they were talking about. Well,
yeah, I mean, it's just kind of stuff that's been going on. I do think that PolitiFact fact-checked President Joe about the gun thing.
About the Second Amendment?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he made that claim about it's the thing that the Democrats have been harping on about for years.
What's that?
Oh, the gun show loophole.
Well, I know a little bit about that.
And people always say, no, it's not. It's like not true. It's not a loophole.
I do. I know some things about it, and that's true. It's not a loophole. If you're a federal firearms dealer, and this part is the part that I don't know. I don't know what the tipping point is, like how many guns you can sell in a year to be considered a dealer.
Right.
But it's pretty low, I would imagine. Like
50?
Probably not even.
Yeah.
And so, like, there are some states that allow private sales.
Right.
I don't know if this state does, but if we were in a state...
Oh, at a gun, like...
Any private sale. Like, if I'm a private person that has a lot of guns, and you're a private person that wants to buy one of my guns...
Right.
I can sell you one in certain states without having to go through that kind of background check, because I'm not a dealer, and I'm not selling enough to be considered one.
Okay. And that's what they call the loophole?
Mm-hmm.
But this has been going on for how long? And I mean, but you probably have to have, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I would think but that would be registered, right? That sale would be registered?
You'd have to, well, I would definitely do it. I'm not going to sit there and say I own a gun that I don't own anymore.
Exactly. So
And
how is that not tracking the gun?
I don't know. Let's see. The president's infrastructure bill, which would not be the stuff it covers, doesn't seem to cover. It covers more than what most people would consider infrastructure. When I think of infrastructure, I think of roads and bridges.
Yes.
But it also has subsidies for green stuff. It has all kinds of
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Has it been passed?
I don't know, and there's thoughts that because the first thing was passed without any Republican support.
I don't understand why the Democrats are still pushing that, because I don't think it's particularly popular.
I don't think they care. Well, I don't know. It might be, and
it's good in the sense that you can say, "Oh, we need to do this because by X date, this stuff's going to happen," and then it's like some date far out in the future when you're no longer in office. So that's good, right?
Well,
if you're a politician.
Maybe, yeah. Well, yeah, that happens a lot. But
by the way, good wine, dude.
Oh, thank you. And what else was there? Oh, yeah, the immigrant surge, the illegal immigrant surge.
I saw some stuff about that. They said the number that everyone's been banning around was something in the 400,000s, like 471,000 coming across the border this year.
Well, there's another number that keeps being bandied around, like there are 11 million illegal immigrants, but that number's from several decades ago, so I think that there's probably more than that.
I think they said that of the 400,000 and change illegals coming in, 30,000 or 32,000 were unaccompanied minors.
That's still a lot. And
that's a giant number.
That's kind of crazy.
But we're whose kids are they?
They're people who want to try and, well, some of them are people who came here illegally and then are trying to bring their kids over because their kids were being taken care of by grandparents or relatives or something.
Okay.
But
I bet you that's a really small proportion of that number.
Well, I don't know if it is or it isn't. And, that's... There's a lot of being said about that. And, whatever information is being thrown at us,
mm-hmm. I
think is not the real issue. I think those are just... all these news stories that I just told you about because mm-hmm. they're interesting to me, but I think...
not the point?
I really don't think it is. I think those are all red herring things that those companies want us to get all riled up over so that we won't look at whatever else is going on.
But how the hell do you look at whatever else is going on?
Well, I don't have the time to do it. I don't think anybody really does. I mean, this is the point where you have to rely on people that are supposed to be journalists and, putting forth info. But like I said, everything's editorialized, and the information that's presented to us is information that those people want us to consume and get riled up over. It just makes me wonder what's going on that they don't want us to know. That probably will affect our lives even more. All the stuff that we talked about that we mentioned does affect our lives in a very real sense. But I do think that the news is designed to have us squabbling, fighting amongst ourselves about stuff to not pay attention to things that are maybe even more egregious. And I'm not saying that we can or should know everything that's going on in a government, but at the same time, well, I don't know. Actually, I don't know where I'm going with that.
Well, the point is that everything's a manipulation, right? I mean,
sure.
It's and we've talked about this theme on the podcast before. It's the whole you hear something and then you immediately have this visceral reaction and become angry or upset or whatever. And then, I think you said this before, the thing to do at that point, if you can, I suppose, would be to take a step back and say, why am I so upset?
Well,
I guess it's how am I being manipulated would be the...
And that's an incredibly tough thing to do because, number one, we are being manipulated, and I can tell because, there's stuff that make me super mad. When I listen to American Pravda, also known as National Public Radio, I get super mad about stuff. And I'm just sitting there going, why am I getting mad about this stuff?
But I get just as mad when I'm listening to the other stuff as well.
Well, I get mad when I'm listening to American Pravda because I know that there are lies being bandied out. On the other stuff, I may also, like the reaction stuff, like, you know, when someone on Fox News or centrist independent...
But those guys are lying too.
That's what I'm saying.
They're all fucking lying.
Probably.
I mean, well, they're... I don't even know if it's about lying. I think they're well, I guess they are lying, but they're doing what they're doing in order to stay in business.
Sure.
In order to keep things going, right? To keep their viewership up or whatever, you know.
And that's the thing. I think about 80 to 90% of us want to keep things going the way it is. It's a scary thought to think of like, you know, our system collapsing.
So you're not in the I want the system to collapse camp then?
I don't know. I don't actively want the system to collapse, but I do believe in a higher power and I believe in destinies. So if the system does collapse, there are going to be people that do okay. You know, comparatively.
See, I totally am with you on that statement, but the funny thing is that most people, if they hear that statement, they'll be like, you're stark raving fucking crazy.
I could be.
No, it's true.
Well, sure.
There is fate and destiny and God's will and all that, but a lot of people will sit there and say, oh, they might say, oh yeah, I agree with you, but then they're thinking, oh, that Dave, he's just a little, you know.
Well, yeah, because
he's a little strange.
Sure. I mean, it's, you know, think of all the people that work in government jobs, and there are tens of millions of people. None of them want our system to collapse. All the people that work in finance, banking, all the people that are working right now, working hard, trying to make a living, just trying to get through the day. We're all just trying to make it. And the thought of that just kind of disappearing is a very scary thought.
Especially if you've got family, I suppose, eh?
I don't think it really matters. It's if you're trying to make a living in a system that you know how to do it in.
Right.
You know, what happens when that system disappears? Now you got to figure out how to do it. And there are people there. I think the people that cheerlead for the change in the system, for the collapse in the system, for a change, for a reversal in the pyramid, for whatever. You know, the ones that are screaming loudly about that are either just have no clue, or are the ones that think that they're going to be the ones in charge in the new system.
Right.
And from what history tells me, that's not really the case. And you can think of it like, well, the Russian Revolution is one thing that I can think of. All those people, all those avowed communists and theoreticians and people that were like, this will be good. It will be good to switch this system for a different system. Thought that they were going to be in charge, and, you know, some of them were, but most of them were killed.
So, but I don't even think that people, I think a lot of the time, like especially the talking heads, right? The folks on Fox News that like to talk about mainstream media and you know, how change is coming and all that. They don't really want that change. I mean, they don't. I think they say that, but if the change came, there probably wouldn't be Fox News. I think
that they think that even if the change comes, there are plenty of people that are doing pretty well right now who think a change will come. And they're also trying to convince everyone that this change isn't going to be the type of change that it used to be. Like, you know, the whole cultural Civil War thing or the Civil War thing. I know of at least one person that's saying it's not going to be, you know, you're not thinking about it in the right way. Civil War is not going to be people with guns shooting each other, because now we're in, like, you know, what was it, fourth generation, whatever. So it's information war. And I'm just sitting there going, well, now it just makes me think of that Star Trek episode where the planet was, there were these two planets that had this war going on, and this war had been going on for like centuries.
Okay.
But at a certain point, the two sides decided, well, instead of us actually throwing and destroying each other's civilizations, it's kind of like a war game where they say, okay, well, there was a bomb attack at this place. So all these people in that place are now dead. So you people need to report
For
death, right?
For death.
But there wasn't an actual attack.
So it was like all being run by some computer?
It was being run by the people at the top.
Oh, okay.
And so what happened was they saved the civilization in that there's no real bombs getting thrown out. No infrastructure, no buildings are being destroyed. It's just saying, these are the people in this area that would have been killed by this attack. So
Shit.
You need to kill these people.
That's a moral dilemma.
Right. And so that was the whole thing about the Star Trek thing, because at one point, the Enterprise was in orbit, and one of the sides said they destroyed that ship.
Oh.
So there was a time they had time. The people on the other side had enough time to get all the people on the Enterprise down on their planet to kill them, or there would be actual war. And because so many centuries of this had been going on, when Enterprise was like, no, we're not part of this place. We're not going to destroy ourselves to keep your little war going. Mm-hmm. And everybody was scared. Like, but then there will be real war.
So what was the result?
The result was the Enterprise Captain Kirk telling the people on the side that he was, on the side of the planet on the planet that he was visiting, saying, you should talk to your counterparts of the other planet, because I'm pretty sure they're shitting bricks too right now because you haven't destroyed our ship. So they're just as scared that you might start hurling real rockets at them too. And that's how it ended.
That's how it ended? Mm-hmm. That's very unsatisfactory.
Well, what can you do in the 60s? But that's kind of what people are kind of hoping for. They're hoping because they're saying, because we do live in a time where things are really just kind of strange. You get more power and more whatever by talking about how underprivileged you are and how victimized you've been, to the point where people you would sit there and go are not victims at all, in terms of they've got lots of money, they've got lots of power, they've got reach, like especially with the internet folks, mm-hmm. Or people on TV or whatever saying, oh well, I'm this victim, I need more.
Well, how about professional fucking sports players as well?
What about them?
The same thing, talking about they're getting paid millions of dollars and sitting there and saying, I'm being that same thing. It's the same thing.
Well, yeah. Well, so yeah, you've just pointed that out. So that that in and of itself is something that really I just can't wrap my brain around. There are conspiracy theories abound, and I'm not going to go to them because they sound kind of strange to me anyway. So yeah.
That's just, I don't know.
But
it even leaves me shaking my head.
Well, yeah, and all this stuff kind of leaves me with this one point. Because we like to talk about hypocrisy, and we want to tone that down a bit, and the whole rules for thee but not for me, and the whole consistency thing. Mm-hmm. Yes, as a species, we are geared towards wanting consistency, but it seems like we're only geared towards wanting consistency from someone else and not ourselves. So, because at a certain point, sitting there, kind of pointing out the holes, the flaws in someone else's logic, is kind of pointless, because if the shoe were on the other foot, right? I mean, I am all in for pointing out the inconsistencies of someone else's arguments and someone else's positions. But could I, and can I really acknowledge the inconsistencies in my own?
I don't know, maybe.
Well, but that is something that I think we should all think about. And if the answer is no, because it seems to be right. I mean, you've been in a situation where you pointed out the hypocrisy or the inconsistency in someone else's argument, and they're like, what are you talking about? You're high. You're an asshole. Or whatever. And I'm just like, well, I'm probably not high. I could very well be an asshole. But you still haven't answered this point. All you've done is call me names, screamed in my face, gone off on whatever, but you've not answered the question in an honest way. Because there are definitely people that answer questions dishonestly. I know they're lying, and it's not like, and at that point, you're like, is it really worthwhile to have that other person acknowledge their lie?
They're not going to.
I mean, that's like the whole confession thing. right? This is something that really, really, really bugs me in the criminal justice system, and I think we can leave with this point.
All right.
So in the criminal justice system, if you, let's say you're accused of a crime that you didn't do, and there's really no way to prove that you didn't. I mean, you
didn't.
Right. You either don't have the means or whatever, for some reason, right? And the prosecution is offering you a deal.
You better take that damn deal.
Right, but that deal, like instead of being executed for murder, the deal is like life in prison, or
it's life in prison or death,
or or maybe something not that dire. You stole something, or you were involved in something that you weren't, and the penalties, max penalty is 25 years.
Ugh.
But you know what? I'll let you off with 5. If you take that plea deal, you have to go to court
and say I'm guilty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and that really kind of confuses me. And on top of that, this whole thing that people sit there and think, this has been something that's been kind of high on my mind. Because I know that there's such a thing as false confession, and this whole idea that if somebody confessed, they must have done it. I wouldn't confess to something I didn't do, is the thought that people have.
Right.
And I'm just like, you've never been interrogated. Things can get pretty rough here, and in this country, it's not even as rough as it can get in other countries. Mm-hmm. So this whole idea where people's like, well, they confessed, so, and I'm just sitting there going, false confessions I don't think that they're as insignificant as people think that they are. And I'm also the type of person that kind of believes that, I like our system because the way it's supposed to be designed is it's better that 10 guilty people go free than one innocent person gets punished. Now, there are issues. Look, I'm a hot-headed person. I'm a hot-headed and very vengeful person. So, and I'm not saying that as like some kind of prevarication for the people that think the opposite. There are some people that think that it's better that
the innocent,
that 10 innocent people get punished rather than one guilty person go free.
Yeah, well,
and
it's easy to say unless you're the innocent person.
Well, not even just that. I haven't even gotten that far in the analysis. The reason why I think that's no good is I know people. I know myself better than I know anybody else.
I don't know.
And I know that I'm not infallible. I'm not even close, right? I make mistakes on all kinds of stuff, small and large. And so knowing that, am I going to trust someone else to be better than me when I think I'm the pinnacle example of humanity, right? I mean, I think most people think they're the best, and they should. That's you really can't live life thinking that you're not good enough or better, right? So even I, the person in my mind who is the best person on earth, I make tons of mistakes. That being said, I would have to think that everybody else makes more mistakes than I do. So, I don't know that I should kind of trust somebody else's judgment as the end all be all. Now they may be correct, but I'm kind of going on a weird flat spin out here, but just, I'm more of a believer that it's better that 10 guilty people go free rather than one innocent person get punished.
I would agree with that.
And, even in the non-academic sense, right? If something happened, if someone had wronged me, I don't want the person that didn't wrong me to be punished just because I think they're the one that wronged me. I want the actual person that did the wrong.